so bright. And I've heard other people say, too, that it's just blinding. Some people say, I can't even look in the direction of the sun anymore.
Well, you can't really, and not safely.
Yeah.
And we've had to warn the little kids not to even look in that direction. You know, they
exactly.
burn their eyes out, and then once it's done, it's done. That's it. Japan ocean radiation soars to 7.5 million times the legal limit. And I'm understanding now that we have radiation here in the United States that's even higher than the limits. But
that's some things that's reporting. As a matter of fact, they're beginning to warn. There's just a few coming out now beginning to warn about food and water, those type things, even in the U.S. They need to be monitored is what they're indicating.
Says EPA.
But I believe there's really almost a blackout on this radiation thing, that there's quite a bit more coming out in the environment around the planet than people are even being told about.
Yeah, which would make you wonder if this is a false flag that they have well designed. It's in the Illuminati card games.
Well, did I tell you, I may have told you just before we started, but George Ure, I didn't tell that on the recording, did I?
No.
Yeah, George Ure, this 7.4, or the double 7.4 that Stan and Holly posted, occurred this morning, which would have been nighttime, in Japan, off the coast, in that Honshu area still. But when that occurred, interestingly enough, George Ure noted this morning that he went over to the HAARP website, where every time, he's been monitoring a lot of the activity of HAARP. And do you know that this morning, during the time frame of this earthquake off Japan, this new one,
offline,
that he said the charts were unavailable.
Yeah.
So, I know a lot of people's trying to put some dots together. And, you and I both have got reports from people saying that, they think HAARP or maybe CERN or both or whatever involved. And, well, maybe there's a little smoke here, and on the one that happened today off Japan. But listen, it makes me think back of the old BP oil spill. Remember when that happened?
Oh, yes.
And you look at that whole situation, and you can pretty much see an undercurrent of a false flag right there.
Well, not only that, when you get a media blackout, which is happening now on the radiation,
yep.
The only reason could be, now it says in here, EPA raising limits for radiation exposure 1,000 times higher than is safe, while Canada turns off all their fallout detectors to keep public in the blind.
Well, now, okay.
So what are we looking at? An attempt to exterminate some people here and in Canada?
Well, we well know that people are absorbing this. I mean,
yeah, and if you eat it and it gets into your organs, if the half-life is 30 years, it's going to stay there for 30 years.
Well, if you last 30 years.
If you last 30 years.
Yep, that's, I'll tell you what, God gave us containers, but some of them are really going through a hard time here on planet Earth right now.
Yeah, he says, it's like you mentioned, the Gulf oil spill. I mean, people are sick, people are dying. Do you hear anything about it? No.
No, you don't. And as a matter of fact, I've got some emails lately from people that live down in that region, and they say now that they are having respiratory problems that just will not go away.
Well, they won't. They won't. They killed themselves by staying there.
Yep. Well, you warned that from the beginning, but it's just like it went unheeded totally.
Well, here's another article, Real Dangers of Radiation. Joseph Conrad wrote, after all the shouting is over, the grim silence of the facts remain. And he says some of these guys that are saying no problem are criminally irresponsible since their advice will lead to millions of deaths. I would hope that sometime in the future I can be involved as an expert in another legal case. Anyway, he's talking about that this is a lot more dangerous than what people realize, and that the nuclear industry is waging a war against humanity.
Well, Stuart, from the way we've seen this thing progress, with all governments still watching, it seems like this is a scenario, though, that's being allowed just like the BP oil spill was allowed for a long, long time, too.
Yep, those who rise up against me and who destroy the earth.
Yep.
It's interesting that what is going on all have human, I can't call it murder, but human deaths are going to be involved in the long term.
Oh yeah, and matter of fact, a lot of them short-term deaths too will come off of that. You know, because this people that already have weaknesses in their bodies, this takes a toll on them. You know. Exactly.
Government holding radiation data back from the public. Oh, gee. Meteorological Agency has been withholding forecasts on the dispersal of radioactive substances from the Fukushima #1 nuclear plant. I understand they had another explosion over there?
Yeah, I've heard that. A lot of this data is hard to get, but apparently they've got, and you know, they just actually massively released radioactive water, they're just pouring it into the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, well, they claim salt water will neutralize it, which I guess...
Oh, wow.
I guess, and to a degree it will.
A little degree, you know.
Meteorological institutions in European countries, such as Germany and Norway, have been publishing their own radiation dispersal forecasts on their websites based on their own meteorological observations. Nuclear experts at home and abroad are criticizing the Japanese government for not releasing their own forecasts, raising new questions about the government's handling of information on the nuclear crisis. Of course, you can get them for the United States if you want them.
Right.
And I guess right now, the Midwest is loaded. We're getting some heavy radiation here.
That's what I've been hearing. Yeah, same report.
Got anything hopeful?
Oh. Well, I don't know if you've seen the new DVD by Klaus Dona yet, called the Klaus Dona Chronicles.
I ordered it, but it hasn't come in yet.
Okay, it is absolutely amazing. Klaus actually gets to go into the closets of people in, you know, other parts of the planet that have artifacts and, you know, these ancient pieces hid away and that probably never been viewed before ever. And some of this stuff, literally, you've got artifacts that are showing, and these are ancient artifacts, by the way, are showing genetic and all of this stuff going on, operations and changing people and fish and animals, and the genetics and the whole thing are recorded through the artifacts.
Of course, it confirms the Bible. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, isn't that a shame?
We don't want to do that.
Now you begin to see why that artifacts are really not let out to the public view, you know.
You know, I've often wondered why people reject the Scriptures. But it's obvious that it's because of their innate internal rebellion against the real, true God. So we invent all these religions so we don't have to really face what the Bible has to say. But how do they explain the absolute mathematical precision of the Scriptures?
Well, they can't, so they just ignore it, and then they claim that, you know, whether the numbers are all wrong, and then they made their own Luciferian numbers, you know, to go by.
Yeah.
It's like Christ and Antichrist. Well, their whole system that they've made is an Antichrist system that they try to follow throughout I guess you could call this cyber world we live in, so to speak, until the real creator comes, you know.
I was watching iRobot, I think it's the name of it.
Yeah,
and the number 666 appears all over the place in that movie.
Well, all of these, it's interesting to note, many of these films have got not only numbers, but they've got clues of all kinds, you know.
Yeah, it is. Food prices and global hunger equal riots, civil wars, and revolution. How long before they start here?
I've been hearing rumors already of a beginning, and actually, and I hate to be going back to Glenn Beck, but, you know, people have to admit, probably more than anyone on the planet, he has exposed in a very short time the whole game plan.
Yeah, he even got
the rich men.
He got Alex Jones so mad that Alex came out against him. You're stealing my stuff.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, it's hard to imagine that somebody would want to have the inside straight and get all the credit, and when they don't even reach a very big audience.
Yeah.
But I've run into it. You run into it. It's kind of like, why are you and I not on all these radio shows and all of these? Well, I guess forget TV.
Yeah.
Why we're not? It's because we're not in the right clique, I guess.
We had a very wealthy guy came up and he said, "I want to put you on what's that big TV channel, Christian channel."
TBN.
TBN. He said, I'm gonna buy space for you for a whole year on TBN so you can have your own program. And I said, "Are you crazy?" Within 1 week, I'll be bounced because they can't stand the truth.
They couldn't handle it. They just simply couldn't handle that.
Record plantings needed. Now, this goes back to what you had said, that the government says get out there and plant. Record plantings needed to build stocks. America will need to plant a record 237 million acres of 4 major crops this year to build U.S. and global supplies back to an acceptable level.
Interestingly, it wouldn't even matter what you plant if it doesn't grow or you don't get a harvest. You've lost it all anyway.
Yeah, and then you got Russia, who said, we're not going to export. China's in trouble.
China's in massive trouble from what I understand. And matter of fact, they said, I was watching Fox Business the other day, and they said that China now has ordered, I want to say 8 times their normal corn and stable order, and so they've got to have that massive amount of food to feed their people.
Yeah, and we're dumb enough to give it to them so we can starve our own people.
Yeah, probably so. But a lot of the nations now recognize that we've already entered into a time of not enough food, and they know that they're not going to have enough for their peoples coming up this next year.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we're not either. I mean, there's not a nation on this planet right now you could order food from to feed your people because they're all hurting.
Well, of course, and whereas Russia would, a lot of people hate Putin and Medvedev and all those guys, but at least they're trying to protect their population. We would not do that. We would say, well, it doesn't matter if the American people have to starve. We have contracts, and we're going to honor them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just beginning, they say that, let's say all food production stopped. As of right now, there's only about 3 to 7 days of food left in the world.
Yeah, it's not long. It's very, very short right now.
I got a very interesting thing here from Red Elk. I don't know if you got it or not.
I heard from him recently.
It says, in his word, he says, time will be speeded up. I had no idea how fast things would and are going to pot. Look at our economy. Look at land masses under severe happenings. Good grief. You didn't say Charlie Brown, but...
Yeah.
I have some advice I hope you consider. Buy land, cash buy, if and while you still have the money to do so, or face losing it. Never mind your dream properties. Just get what you can afford in cash, a place to go, even with a tent.
Well, that is good. That's good advice.
Actually, it is. We will be very, very soon be forced to break all kinds of laws. You're going to have to survive. County laws, state laws, federal laws. I tell you true, you will be forced to. It's now a fast approaching event. I don't know what he means by that. A matter of you or them. I see forced disruptions, forced rebellion, huge troubles. Huge, he says.
I think he's talking